Quebec City is where Canada truly began. Perched high above the St. Lawrence River, this was the strategic stronghold that shaped the early history of the country. The French built their foothold here in the early 1600s, carving out a settlement that would later become the heart of New France. But others had their eyes on it too. From the Americans to the British, battles fought on these cliffs changed the destiny of North America. And today, you can still feel that weight of history in every stone, every wall, and every street. And the first impressions are, I'm in Europe. These defensive walls around Quebec City were built up over the years, but officially completed around 1745. In French, the Hôtel du Parlement du Québec is the seat of the National Assembly of Quebec. Please note, most provinces call their seat of government the Legislative Building, but there are a few exceptions. British Columbia and Quebec use the name Parliament Building, while Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia call theirs Province House. And sorry St. John's, but this one takes the cake. This is the nicest one thus far. So let's do a recap. Quebec number 1, St. John's number 2, New Brunswick number 3, Nova Scotia number 4, and PEI number 5. Okay, pretty thorough security process to get into the building in the first place. Even more thorough than an airport screening, it felt like. But I got... So the 1960s in the province of Quebec saw a massive social change, just like much of the Western world. And in Quebec, the majority of the change stemmed from the lessening of the power of the Catholic Church in the province, but also the rising surge of nationalism within Quebec, where more and more people gathered and started to fight for the idea of Quebec becoming an independent sovereign entity away from Canada. What a nice setting. So in the 1980s, Quebec held its first referendum of separating from Canada. And that referendum failed, with 59.6% voting to stay and only 40.4% voting to want to leave Canada. This is a stained glass with Samuel de Champlain.
So feel free to take some photos if you want. And after that.
In 1995, a second referendum took place in Quebec. And the second referendum was much, much closer than the first one in 1980, with 50.58% of the population voting to stay with Canada, but 49.42% voting to leave. So the margin was razor thin. Only about 54,000 votes separated the yes and no side. And the voter turnout at the time was quite remarkable, as up to 94% of people voted in the referendums.
50.6% no, 49.4% yes.
It was a nail-biter. This was the Premier René Lévesque during the first referendum in 1980. This was the Premier in 1995 during Quebec's failed referendum vote. Jacques Parizeau. Oh, shit. You failed, Jacques, but you're mighty close. And would have been a very different Canada had you succeeded. Summertime in Quebec is a wonderful place. There we go. Very nice turnout at this coffee shop. Very nice people working there. I learned how to say takeaway in French. Je voudrais. So I got a matcha here. So I have to say Je voudrais matcha, s'il vous plaît, I think. I'm practicing. So this is Battlefields Park, where the Plains of Abraham is located, and we're going to walk there in a bit. But this is the largest park in the city of Quebec, which is not too far from the downtown and the old town area of the city. And let's look up. 265 years ago, September 13th, 1759, a very important historical battle took place here. And we're here in Battlefields Park, and this is the Plains of Abraham. It was here, on the Plains of Abraham, that a battle decided the colonial fate of Canada. This was a decisive battle that took place during the 7 Years' War, also known in North America as the French and Indian War. It was a world war fought on this continent and also in Europe and also some other places around the globe. So the battle here took place between the British and the French. The French were led by General Louis Joseph de Montcalm, and the English were led by General James Wolfe. Cool name. Because of Quebec City's key position on the St. Lawrence River, it had already been attacked 3 times by the British. But the invasion of 1759 was the one that finally removed the French from power. It began with a daring nighttime landing by General Wolfe's forces at Anse-au-Foulon, setting the stage for a decisive clash that would change the course of Canadian history forever. And Anse-au-Foulon is a very high cliff face. So General Wolfe, he scaled his troops up the cliff face and onto the land here in a surprise maneuver to take foot on the land in the direction towards Quebec City. So when the English landed here, they did so in a surprised way. So the battle took place just around this area here, with a line of British troops this way and the French on this side. And like traditional warfare at the time, the troops would line up in a long row and just fire at each other in that form of battle, which seems stupid in modern times, but that's how they fought wars back then. The battle itself was probably fairly intense, with multiple casualties and deaths on both sides, and that includes both generals. Both General Wolfe, who died on the day of the battle, and General Montcalm dying the day after the battle. The leaders actually had a real-life stake in the outcome, and both ended up dying, which is bonkers to think about. Both generals died in the war. The French were more affected by it, and they were quickly demoralized and broke ranks. And a few days later, they surrendered Quebec to the British. The aftermath of the battle was huge. After Quebec surrendered, within a year, France lost almost all of its North American colonies. And North America, well, particularly Canada, became the domain of the British, with the French in a secondary role, no longer the sovereigns in anywhere in the North American continent. British control after the Battle of the Plains of Abraham did not end the fight for Quebec. In 1775, during the American War of Independence, American forces pushed north into Canada, hoping to seize Quebec and prevent it from serving as a British stronghold. Montreal fell quickly, but Quebec City held firm. Led by Benedict Arnold and General Richard Montgomery, the Americans laid siege to the city, betting that French Canadians would rise against the British rule, but they largely refused, remaining neutral. On December 31st, 1775, the Americans launched a desperate winter assault. Montgomery was killed, Arnold wounded, and the attack collapsed. Under the governor Guy Carleton, the city withstood a 5-month siege. Quebec remained British, and its leadership doubled down on defense. So we're in a fortification here built by the British, and they built this fortress to protect Quebec City from the Americans. So this is one of 3 of the Martello Towers. There was actually 4 of them, but one is no longer here. But there's 3 that are still standing, and these were set up by the British to add further protection to Quebec. Very cool entrance. And here's the entrance. And we're inside the Citadel right now, which is comes from the Italian word Citadel, which means small city. And it's still an active site. It's a home to the Army Regiment of the Vendus. The Vendu Regiment is a French-speaking regiment within the Canadian Army, and they first served for Canada during World War I. So I'm in the museum portion of the Citadel, and it's quite good. So we see where the Vendus have operated in different parts of the world. Fought some key battles, particularly in Kandahar, and lost some soldiers there as well. They were also in Yugoslavia in the 1990s, or the former Yugoslavia. And here we see an exhibit of their time in the Korean War. Also their time in World War II.
For you to sit down and not now, please sit up.
And here is maybe their mascot, a goat. Greatest of all time. Alright, that was a wonderful tour. I would highly recommend if you're interested in Canadian history, particularly its military history. I got popcorn for dinner and a Diet Coke. I could not resist. The smell of that popcorn was unreal. But here it's a pretty wide river, but here you can see it's narrowed at this point. You can kind of see why the French chose this place as a settlement. Its geographic position was ideal. And here we have some of the legacy of this place. Like much of Canada, started by the French, but taken over by the Brits. That's what I'm getting out of Canada's history in a nutshell while traveling through here. It was like the French were here first, but the British had a stronger capacity for nation building and taking political control. Alright, boys. Quebec City is definitely the place you bring the lady. It would be a nice city to come with your gal and just walk around, wine and dine. It has that good kind of mood. Too bad I'm here by myself, but yeah, it has a feel like some other really beautiful and pretty European cities. Really great spots to come as couples, but other travelers too could enjoy it. But it has a romantic atmosphere to this place, so I think ideal for couples. I've been blessed with a lot of natural beauty in this trip, specifically the national parks I've visited across Canada, Gros Morne, Cape Breton. But this place offers a different sense of beauty. It's architectural beauty. It's a lot of stairs. It's a good workout. Ooh. Stairs of death continue. Stairways to heaven. This would be a good morning workout. Which you're going to see in 5 seconds. It explains why Quebec City is world class.
My show, I need to know somebody speak English.
My name is Pancho Libre. I come all the way from Mexico. Here we go. Vámonos. Huh?
He's absolutely in the zone right now. I've never seen anything like this before.